We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. The first item this evening is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item this evening is going to be public comment, and I don't believe we have any public comments, so we're going to move on. Next item is going to be the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the public hearing for the 2017 budget amendment hearing. So the public hearing is open.
Just clarification, Finance Director went over at the last meeting, and these, of course, are, this requires no change in money. We take in is spending authority, and one of them was the CBG thing where we take the money back, and of course we had the budget to do that, so doesn't really change anything. You just have to have the budget authority to do it, so.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and close that public hearing. And we'll move on to the next item this evening, which is going to be special presentations. And that's going to be a special presentation that's going to be by the Fort Hays State University Chief of Police, Ed Howe, 2 members of Troop 41 Boy Scouts. So y'all can go ahead and come forward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of Fort Hays State University Police Department and Fort Hays State University, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to allow me to come into your community to recognize 5 outstanding young men for their community service. Now, this isn't about us, this is about them, and to put it in proper context of what these fine young men did, I'm going to introduce Josh Fleener, and he can tell you, because he was the officer who was working that day, on what these lads had done for us.
All right, on October 4th of this year, these young men were at Fort Hays State University doing a scouting event. I believe it's for merit badges, was that right?
Yes.
Okay. While they were there, they decided to do some exploring down in one of our pretty heavily wooded areas, and when they did, they came across a lot of stolen, what ended up being stolen property. There were some wallets and purses and checks and credit cards, all sorts of different things down there. These boys being scouts and having the honor and integrity that they did, they contacted the university police and handed over the property, and they actually took me down to where they found the property and helped me dig around down there, and we ended up getting a bunch more stuff. So.
And it was kind of interesting because they probably watched CSI on TV.
What?
CSI, the cop show on TV.
Never heard of it.
About not handling things to make sure that you don't transfer fingerprints. But like I said, it's a pleasure for us to be here to recognize these fine young men. And we have something for you as a small gesture and token on behalf of the University Police Department in Fort Hays. So if the Scoutmaster wants to come up. Grab the coins. So, the first gentleman is George McVeigh. George, again, thank you very much. Now we have one other thing for you. If you notice, we're giving them a certificate of their efforts. In addition to that, we are presenting them with a challenge coin from Fort Hays. So,
And folks, feel free to step up and take the pictures.
again, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Jet Harder, you are the next contestant. Thank you again for your service. Bryson Fisher. Congratulations. Thank you. And there are two sides to that coin, so feel free to take that out and look at it. Lane Campbell.
Shake
Oh,
his hand.
right.
Can't go away. Promise I don't bite. Jacob Black. Again, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Got everything I needed.
Good job, Gary. Great one.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Great job, guys, and Fort Hays, thank you all so much for making that trip all the way out here just to present those Boy Scouts with those awards. We sure do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item this evening, and that's going to be under new business. The first item is a consideration of ordinance number G1218, approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Junction City, Gary County, and the Junction City Area Chamber of Commerce.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, actually what you're approving tonight is the ordinance, and the county approved the resolution yesterday. Basically, it's saying here that we're going to move forward to next year, and this ordinance adopts or approves that memorandum at the same time, so we'll just do one vote, just be the ordinance only. And basically, it's going to say that we're going to continue with the EDC and the MAC functions, working with the chamber, and because the ordinance resolution is city, ordinance, county resolution, but the MOU is city, county, and the chamber. And we'll continue on, and with the goal to, and this will take us to the end of 2018, with the goal of by June 1 of 2018 to attempt to develop a new agreement to carry on beginning January 1, 19 and into the future. And I know you have 3 county commissioners here tonight, and chamber board member 2, and some chamber staff as well, so. But the ordinance does approve the resolution. I mean, it gives the MOU, excuse me, the MOU.
Well, it's taken a while to get to this point, and I appreciate the efforts of both the county and the chamber and the city to move this forward and possibly, hopefully, by June 2018, have a new agreement in place so we can move forward without any hiccups. I appreciate the efforts of all the governing bodies that were involved in this.
And the base of operations, everything stays as is, offices, phones?
We're just going to talk, this concerns with the EDC and the MAC. The CVB is not part of the agreement.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I see no problem with operating this way under this ordinance, current ordinance. I think we're better together rather than apart. That's just my half, and I have no issues with this ordinance.
Well, the problem is if we wouldn't be doing this on January 1, we had an ordinance and the county had a resolution in place that the EDC would have been kind of off in left field per se, operated by itself, and I mean, we wouldn't have any staff members like we have now in place, so it'd have been real awkward, so this is kind of the impetus as well.
Good.
Move to approve ordinance G1218 as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance.
Oh, sorry, got to vote. I did make a note. Roll call.
Commissioner Ryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Landis?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes,
Commissioner Sands?
Yes.
Commissioner McAllister?
Yes.
thank you. Do we need to sign anything? We're going to do any signing or anything?
Sign it
Afterward.
She was at the
Afterwards.
meeting, and we'll get it back to the county, and then they'll get it to the chamber and move forward from there.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration of the 2017 budget amendments.
Last meeting, we had explained what the budget amendments were in regard, and we've held our hearing with no comment. So it is ready for you now to simply adopt it as presented, if you would, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consider to request to solicit bids for the demolition of the structure located at 1023 West 8th Street. Mr. Carmen.
Mayor, Commissioners, we are here to consider going forward to solicit bids on this project. And I'd be glad to answer any questions. There are pictures up on the monitor now, as you can see. The current state, these are pictures from today. Since we had the last meeting and discussed this and gave the time allotted to come back to this night, there still hasn't been any progress on the exterior of it all.
Has there been any further information on the electrical that was performed without the city's blessing, the inspections?
That's why I took a picture of the last one with sheetrock on the wall. That was supposed to be inspected. As I discussed, I'm pretty sure that I made a point of stressing that, and it did not get, to my knowledge, no licensed professional called me to say, yeah, I went over and looked at that work, I don't have a problem with it, give me a permit for it. So it wasn't inspected, now it's been covered up, and the only remedy for something like that would be to make them take the sheetrock off the wall, because it was specifically clear the last time we were here that this needed to be done, had to be done. And I think Mr. Ruiz understood that, but that didn't happen.
And there's been no contact since the last time we got together?
Not from Mr. Ruiz to myself, no, or my office. He did come in and ask about turning the electrical service on a couple of days ago.
Mark, I do have a question.
Sir.
And just seeing some of your notes in-house, is there an issue with the wire gauge?
Yes.
Okay.
If you wire a home in your residential work, your living rooms, your kitchens, and anything attached to either one of those two, all the outlets in them are required by the current code to be wired in 12 gauge or 20 amp wire. That was another reason that I asked for a professional to be in here, because it wasn't. It was wired in 14 gauge wire, which would have all had been removed. And I can't even get into the details of inside, because I can't get past the outside. We are at a standstill and have been right where it sits for months.
In terms of additional contact, you will recall that Mr. Ruiz had filed a lawsuit against the city, some of the city commissioners, myself, and in that lawsuit, the court, there had been no service. However, the court did give Mr. Ruiz an extension. The city prosecutor entered his appearance in that case on behalf of the city, and the court gave him an extension of time to obtain proper service, because the court ruled he'd really never obtained proper service on anybody. Apparently, in lieu of doing that, on December 4th, he filed a new lawsuit. So this is a new and separate lawsuit against the city. It's just Mr. Lawrence Ruiz versus the city of Junction City, and it states the clerk of Junction City. It alleges many things that have nothing to do with this particular property. At the very end, he does ask, and it's very inarticulate, at the very end he does ask the court to stop any action by the city commission in a very broad, vague way. this suit probably was properly filed against the city. The answer date the answer isn't even due till December 27th, but I'm confident that he hasn't obtained any orders against the city, restraining the city from taking any action on this. Britain is going to file an appearance in that suit as well, but I wanted to make you aware of it if you weren't already.
I'd be happy to answer any questions if you might have any.
I just have a comment. We are doing our citizens, the people that live in that area, and the residents of the city a disservice, because there's been more time given to this property than any other property that we have. And I was in for extending the time, but at this point, if I had the bulldozer, I'd probably drive it through the property right now, because that's still an eyesore in this community, something that we have provided a sufficient amount of time, and the progress is still minimal. At the rate that it's going, it'll probably take 2 years or 3 years to make this presentable, and I'm just not into it. So I am not on board with extending anything on this.
What Mark is asking tonight is for permission to move forward with putting it out for bid.
Exactly.
So we'd probably be talking January 16th.
I got all the dates here for you,
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
Nickel. Publication would be the 21st of December.
Okay.
The mandatory bid meeting would be the 3rd of January. The bids would be due on the 8th of January, and then on bid opening would be on the same day at 3:30, January the 8th, and then award of bid would be at the commission meeting on January the 16th.
Move to approve Resolution 2831 as presented. Or is it 2826? No, go through all your stuff.
2826.
No, we're just approving the
Oh,
request.
There
just-
is- Yeah, there isn't a resolution.
Just a request to solicit
Take it
bids.
to
So moved.
put out for bids for demolition.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to the next item this evening, that's going to be consideration of change order number 2, increasing the cost by $5,122.98, and change order number 3, increasing cost by $6,256.29 to the municipal building and fire department plumbing and renovation project.
Brett is here, our architect, Brett Deem from Deem & Deem is here to give you any further explanation or answer any questions you have regarding these change orders.
Here tonight on looking at some of the possible change orders here, and they come up with, we'll go through prior, when we were here before, we were looking at a floor drain in one area, and we knew some of these were going to be issues, and we were looking for pricings on those. So some of those items are there. The others, we looked at the mop sink in the locker room that's being developed, and that came into fruition with, talking with the fire department and going through. And basically, after you seeing something and analyzing those, where some of those ideas come, are born even after the fact. And the other one is the washer and dryer hookups in where the locker rooms were, I'd say were currently, for the men's in the fire department. That has all been cleaned out now. And with all that being cleaned out, it was discovered trying to look where their facilities are now and discussing the opportunity to bring them up on one level to use them for a basically on the same level in functionality reasons for it. And that is the spot that was recognized as far as putting a washer and dryer in there. And I'll back up a little bit. In the men's locker room, the new one, it's bringing a closet and a mop sink in there. So the costs are forming that with a door and the mop sink in that area, so you have some of that cost in there with the framing and so forth. It doesn't just stop with the mop sink being, put in place. It's also kind of closeted in, and so that's where you'll see these costs develop from there. And I think the other one was a fan issue, exhaust fan, of replacing what was in there which will now be the women's shower. It's once tearing all that out, looking up in there and looking at the olds, I mean, it's more than advantageous just to get it out of there and replace it. And I think that was a few hundred in there, so.
It was a problem over 10 years ago, when I used to live there.
So, looking at that, so that's what has developed here.
I guess I was somewhat confused. I didn't understand on the change order bid sheet, where the contract price was adjusted to $457,000, and then an increase of $5,000 now becomes $552,000.
Honestly, I'll look through the numbers a little bit. Don't ask me to add in my head that quick. But the one thing, as far as prior, added on change orders before and then now. So you're going to confuse me on that.
Yeah, I know there was another email with some
Let's see,
corrections, and I wanted those corrections to be made public.
Did you want to?
Yeah, there was an addition error, and we resent them out to you so that you would be aware of it.
Number 2. There's number 3.
You do have a,
Honestly, I have to look at 450.
there is a math error on change order number 2.
Yes.
Current contract price just by change order, it is not 457, it's higher than that.
Yes. 557.
I'm
This
guessing
is
you have a
corrected to
transposition here.
552 then.
Yes,
Yes.
corrected, we sent out the corrections.
Okay, do I have, I mean, I grabbed the right one here. Okay.
Okay.
I think I got the
Did that email have an attachment with it?
550.
Yes,
I don't remember, because mine doesn't have it
it did.
from him.
There was 2 emails, one that Alan sent and the one that I sent. It had, the
Yeah.
one I sent had the
You have that?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
attachments.
I just sent a clarification of what went to where. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you sent, but I don't think I ever got that one from.
Yeah, Cheryl sent it up earlier in the day.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Cheryl, did you?
Yeah, they got it.
So after change order 3, we're looking at 559, 253. That's the total at this point, right?
Mm-hmm,
Change order 3.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so that math, that math works out where the original didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, typo.
Right.
Right.
And
That's-
so I called Brett on Friday, and we were able to make sure that the change order amounts on the agenda are correct.
Right.
Those
Yeah,
totals.
we combed up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that explains it. And the washer and dryer hookups are going to be on the second floor, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So that, yeah, because right now they're down below and you know, those steps and everything else. They come.
These change orders were initiated by the
Fire department.
fire department, is that correct?
Yes, yes, in working with that, coming back to us would be through the fire department, yes. Mhm.
Is this it? Is this the end of the change orders?
Well,
We don't know.
yeah, still going, right now in the stages that they're at, they're going back and progressing down into the lower level too. We can make jokes about that, but like I said, we're trying to identify everything that we can. Now, these weren't errors in here or identifying stuff that they just came with the function, you know, once you're seeing the envelope and realizing what you have and the opportunities. And a lot of that increased once they moved everything out of there, because the fire department has moved everything and temporarily shifted, they're able to see the open palette and what they have. So I think that's kind of spawned some ideas and, growth of what they want to put
They were
in.
not part of the original design that we put out for bid, in other words.
Yes.
Because the project initially was just, we need specific things, and we asked him to design for specific things. And this was not thought of. Even though the fire department was active in the design process, they never thought of those things. So it's up to you to decide whether you're going to allow those amenities.
We just have to be careful.
I know. And that's been our concern all along is, yeah, we had so many dollars to spend on this budget, but you have to be careful
And
because
can
we
you
have not opened up the basement floor yet and the stuff in the basement and those kinds of things.
Yeah, they have ran, cameras and so forth and looking at all that, trying to figure that out, but they have not opened that up yet down there. And it's been, I commend right now, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And what they're doing, the plumbers in there have done a very nice job. And far as that goes,
The contractor's
And-
been cooperative and cost-effective, looks for cost-effective alternatives, been willing to work with Brett for minor design changes without cost increases. So he's been cooperative. It's not like we have a contractor that's trying to nickel and dime us
yeah,
either.
no, this isn't, on
This is
them
not
at all.
his ideas.
No.
These are not his ideas.
Cheryl, can you
They-
share with, I don't recall what the project budget was.
The maximum available for expenditure was $668,000.
Yeah. And we did at 668, we did an estimate that was I believe 589.
Yes.
And then this bid came in at 525 or where it was, so
How time sensitive are these?
now.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't do them now, we don't
There
do 'em.
is, the
Right.
locker room is, because what's crucial on that, what caught us last time, is that floor too, is drilling through the floor and some of that and getting the contractors on hand to, basically, you have to x-ray that floor, drill through it, and do some of those items. And so that's where some of that becomes crucial, because that's a tension
The flip side is
slab.
it's open, everything's open now. If you're going to do it, now's the time to do it.
Yes.
I mean, there's a positive, negative both ways here.
Defense of the fire department, I think what chief and the department's trying to do is we have an opportunity. I mean,
Yes.
I understand the
Yes.
cost. Also to fix, not necessarily fix, but to make better some living, because for firemen and also allow females and a few other things like that, I think we are, moving very positive. And
I like the idea for risk management, the less traffic up and down the stairs with, handfuls of laundry and things like that, because, I mean, that's an alternative too that you have to weigh is you try to make the
Sure.
area safe and as risk-free as possible, and this would accommodate that.
Right. That's fine.
And once you're up there into the old locker room area where the lockers used to be, and now they are not there anymore, once you get up into that space, it's expanded, and so you can see new possibilities with it, where before, I don't know that they would have seen it, so what
Yeah.
to do with the space.
Well, my concern is, it seems like every time we turn around, we see new possibilities. So at some point, we need to make
We gotta
sure
draw
we
the line,
vet
yeah.
these, that these new possibilities aren't just wants, they're needs.
Right.
Okay?
Agree?
We could always,
Especially
Spend the
since
money
you
from
said
the
in the
truck.
basement, you don't know what we're going to
Yeah.
Well,
run
you
into.
got to cut that floor in there, yeah. So we've, we're there quite a bit, but then bi-weekly we have, we're having our meetings with the city, with the fire department, with the contractors. So, I mean, we've diligently tried to stay on top of
Right.
everything we can with this, because we're trying to avoid those ghosts as much as possible.
Thank you.
Okay?
While we're in the middle of construction, I really think we ought to take the opportunity to move the washing and dryer upstairs just to keep the traffic off the staircase up and down, carrying stuff. You know, it's something that if we don't do it now, some commission sitting here in 20 years is going to be saying, yeah, if we
Should've
spent
done
5
that.
times as much money, we could move it upstairs, and that guy wouldn't have fell down the stairs last week.
Yeah, if Phyllis would have voted against it, we'd have been fine.
It's all her.
Are those little stairs, no.
Oh, you got a pole, right? You can just shoot
Yeah,
it
see.
up there.
Yes.
It doesn't seem to me that any of the firemen are getting any younger either, so, just saying.
Every now and then, they shove us old guys out the door, and they bring the young ones in.
Okay.
Entertain a motion?
Is that both number 2 and 3
You
on this
can,
change order?
you can
Yes,
do
you can do one
do one
individually.
motion or two. You can just do it in
Just
both.
one
Just
motion
total.
then?
Yeah, one motion would be fine.
Okay. I move to approve change order 2, increasing the cost by $5,122.98, and change order 3, increasing the cost by $6,256.29 to the municipal building fire department plumbing and renovation project.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration of resolution number R 2833, addition to the city employee manual, adding a workplace violence policy. Ms. Rivera?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We have adopted it, or want to adopt a new, we want to adopt a new workplace violence policy that we want to add to the employee handbook. This policy contains information about prohibited behavior in the workplace and what employees should do if they were to experience or witness any kind of workplace behavior, and we would like to add that to the employee handbook. It also talks about conceal and carry it as well.
As of January 1, the exemption on our buildings for concealed carry go away. Our buildings will still be prohibited for open carry. But concealed carry is not. And this basically spells out the policies for concealed carry
For employees.
for employees.
For employees.
Not for civilian?
No,
No.
civilians are going to be
Only
allowed.
applies to
Now, as you notice when you walked in tonight, the court will have, so on court days, they will operate
the security.
security.
Mm-hmm.
But at commission meetings, unless down the road, commission decides to hire the additional help for those meetings, at this point in time, it's just going to be for those meetings. You can pick and choose in a building when, which hallways, all that, if you want to ban concealed carry in the building, but you have to have the security in place. And the rationale for that always has been, at least the gun right people tell me, is that if you're going to ban the gun from me, I need to make sure that you don't have a gun. And that's basically the thought.
Katie, have you reviewed and approved?
My colleague Tammy Samoji, who's an employment law lawyer, has, I'm sure she drafted a
Yeah,
lot.
she-
Yeah,
Drafted,
she's
yeah.
reviewed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's
so-
been reviewed.
Okay.
Entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve resolution R 2833, addition to the city employee manual, adding workplace violence policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And please, before you leave, Ms. Rivera, we'd just all like to wish you happy birthday today. So can everybody just tell her happy birthday?
Happy birthday.
Almost made it.
Don't let the day over 21.
I'm going to pay for that, I know.
That was, it's all on him.
Yes.
Next item this evening is a consideration of the revised planning, zoning, and codes agreement for the City of Junction City, City of Milford, and Gary County. Mr. Dinkle?
Madam Mayor, Commissioner, of course, the resignation of David Year last spring, the county named an acting or interim director, Mr. Livingston. We've had some discussions this summer and fall about how to move forward. They would like to for a number of years, I don't know how many years, but we've had the office in our building, combining the duties, and of course with these GIS duties, they feel it'd be better to move it over to the county building. So the zoning issues would go over there. You know, in lieu of it, right now we were paying for all the office costs. There'd be an additional person hired, and we would pay for part of that, half that salary. Troy would be in charge, but there'd be this person to work with him on planning and zoning issues. The question would be, you know, the change, of course, it would not be in our office. How much hassle that is, you know, I mean, is it a hassle when somebody does have to go to zoning on stuff? Or a lot of it, of course, can be done from Mark's office straight to the zoning on by email and fax and everything else. You know, we've had it this way for years, and it worked. I'm not arguing that. There's some desire. One of the discussions we had this summer was that one of the ideas was that we hire a person, the county hires a person, and I really against that because we still have a Metropolitan Planning Commission, which I think is a wonderful thing, very wonderful thing. And to have two people, you know, the first half of the meeting would be city, so you'd have a city person guiding it, and then the second half of the meeting would be the county person. That'd be like having two city attorneys. You know, Katie would go to point B or point E in the meeting, and then their attorney would come in. Both excellent attorneys, but just the flow and everything else would be disastrous. We would still do the codes out in the county. I think it is great that when I first got here, not having experience with Metropolitan Planning Commission, I think it's worked well. I mean, my concern was you have 7 planning commissioners, 3 of them are representing the city, but making decisions for the city. Well, after going to some meetings, and those of you who've been on the planning commission, it works. It works very well. I do like the idea that the county has bought into, and also the city of Milford, of building codes. From a city standpoint, you're not going to hear from somebody that says, well, I want to, I hear this right now in that area east of Manhattan, the Blue Township one, going, well, there's no building costs out here. I mean, there's no inspection fees, and there's no building permits and stuff like that. We're going to build out there. By having Mark and Mark's department being over the whole county, you have a consistent housing. At some point in time, if those houses ever get annexed into the city, they're going to match what we have. And you don't have this base of, well, we build out there because they'll let us get away with this. No, they don't, because they got the same codes that we have. And I think that's good for all the residents in this county. I mean, ultimately good. So the question would be is, as we move forward with this, is basically moving the office out of our office, which there's pros and cons. I'm not going to argue that whatsoever. But I'm definitely opposed to having a person for us and a person for the county. I think it needs to be coordinated because it'd be a disaster for the Planning Commission. I've been vehemently opposed to that and remain that way.
Well, we're big on efficiencies, and that would just go against efficiencies, is to separate it that way.
Well, it just wouldn't make sense either, yeah.
How does Grandview Plaza fit into this?
They don't. Grandview Plaza is not part of the Metropolitan Planning Commission.
But they are part of the county.
Yes, but they are an incorporated city.
They choose not to participate.
They choose not to participate.
When's the last time we checked with them to see if they want to participate?
I don't know if they've ever shown,
Never shown interest.
any interest of being in there. They
So they have different codes, they have different...
Yes. We do not handle building codes over there. The only thing we do at Grandview Plaza is we cooperate on police and we've...
Sell them water.
Fire, and we do sell them water, but they do their own water distribution.
Back to the efficiency question. Okay.
I'm not going to comment.
So, Mr. Dinkle, just to clarify for me, please, so the person that Troy would be having another person that's going to be hired, okay.
Work with him, yeah.
I spoke with Mr. Livingston just yesterday, and he said he wasn't going to do this anymore. I know.
Then you got to ask the county commissioners then.
Wasn't going to do what anymore?
He didn't want to do planning anymore.
That is not what I've gotten from the county.
And
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Steinmetz said that he's going to continue that?
Correct.
Okay.
Is GIS, is that a county function, or is that both, or city and county?
It's county, but they do, he has mapping for the whole county, including all the incorporated cities.
Okay, do we pay them for that
No.
function?
No.
No. So what percentage of his time is going to be doing zoning, planning, blah, blah, blah? And how do we know what part of his salary we actually have to pay?
We won't be paying any of his salary. It's that additional person that'll handle the
City's
planning.
gonna hire.
No, county's going to hire.
But this is the way it says the city.
If we want any additional, it'd be our cost.
It says, under this agreement, the city would pay for no more than 50% of the expense it incurs to employ the planner it hires to provide it,
It being
meaning
them.
city.
It being them,
Be a county employee.
the county employee. It would not be a city employee.
So this says that the county will hire a planning and zoning director, who is, I gather, Troy, okay? And a planner, which it hasn't hired yet, I gather.
You know, we do have,
But
and I see a lot of advantages in this, because we do have a lot of needs that we need to take a look at, i.e., you know, we have to redo that fence thing again because of what happened there. The building,
Land
the
bank.
garage thing, and all those things, you know, so, you know, the staff is needed. You know, of course, you know, it's a cost that we didn't budget for, but we won't have the office costs either. And again, those are kind of blended into our building. And those are hard to measure.
Okay, so Cheryl's comment about Mr. Livingston said he didn't want to do the planning, but where the person being
No.
hired is being hired to be the planner.
The county commissioners have always told me that he, you know, I asked that more than once of them, and also Mr. Opeth.
Mr. Asher, did you want to speak? Come forward, please.
Keith Asher, Geary County Commissioner. What precipitated this was the fact that the GIS, we asked him to be the interim zoning director, and he was willing to do that. However, throughout the course of this time period, and Mr. Dinkle knows as well, that he's not as familiar with the city and some of the, you know, the planning in the future of the city. And so it kind of became apparent that we probably ought to have somebody that specializes just in city planning and zoning. And this is where this came from, if I'm correct, Katie, that we kind of worked together on this, and we thought that in the big scheme of things, we'd move everybody over there. We would have our GIS, which ties in closely with planning and zoning, and Mr. Livingston would oversee everything. But we needed somebody that could really focus more on the city. But we were willing to pay for half of that if the city was willing to pay for half of that person. So that's kind of how this originated. And so we were just willing to do that, and that way the city gets probably a little bit better oversight on their planning and even zoning for that matter. But both would work closely with the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and we thought it was a good idea.
So the plan is to get this agreement passed, and then you would look to hire a planner.
Mhm.
Well, it'll get passed, it also has to be passed by City of Milford, and then go through Attorney General review.
Yeah, it has to be approved by
So
the
you're probably
Attorney
talking 3 months,
General. Well, maybe not.
depends what day of the week, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think the city of Milford has agreed to step up. They pay a certain amount, but it's been very minuscule.
Like $1,200.
So they're willing to step that up to the 1,200, so.
Okay.
Right now, the Planning Commission itself is made up of 3 appointed by the city, 3 appointed by the county, and 1 appointed by Milford. And if you walked into that meeting and were not familiar with Junction City, Geary County, I'm not sure if a person could go and pick out who represents the city, who represents, that's a good thing. I mean, I'm saying it very positively, because I think they discuss.
It's a very diverse group.
Some of their county people are vested in this community and businesses and everything else, big time. I mean, I think it's beautiful. It's been done over a number of years. Like I said, if you came from out of town and walked in there and go, okay, you picked the 3 city, the 3 county, and the Milford one, I'm not sure if you could do it. I mean, and that's very positive. They think as a group, and they've been very good.
If there's no more questions, I'll sit down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So explain the option to
Wait.
until,
If you wanted to, I mean, you can do it tonight. One option is to, if you wanted to let the new city commission be part of that decision. That's just, and there's no right or wrong.
I don't have a problem with this.
You got to realize that the new city commission can always change it anyhow.
yeah.
Everything you do can be changed in a heartbeat. Not that it will, but just like apparently during your 4.5 years, you may have changed something too.
We're just wasting time if we don't do it now.
Yep.
Killing a month.
I'd move to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nothing here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item this evening is going to be the consideration of the information technology agreement with Gary County. Captain Fitzgerald.
Mayor, Commissioners, Captain Fitzgerald from Junction City Police Department. The intent of this information technology is the integration of New World Public Systems, which is the RMS record management system that the Police Department in Geary County has purchased for law enforcement. Requires that the City of Junction City and Geary County maintain efficient and sufficient information in the agreement in order to maintain this. We're trying to get an IT person, technician, I guess is what they call it, that will basically report to our IT director. The information technology technician will be hired by the Geary County and handled by the Geary County Sheriff Department, or HR. We will split the cost of that at approximately $2,707.43 per month, which will be billed to us. They will maintain that person, and they will be given access to the RMS systems, not only at the police department, but at the jail and the sheriff's department in order to get this system on board, which we've paid a lot of money to get there. They will work directly underneath of Mr. Gurman in order to get this accomplished so we can get this down the road.
And Jim still has full control of our system. He'll let them go where he wants them to go. I mean, they're not going to threaten our system whatsoever, because Jim ain't going to let it happen.
That is correct. I'm the one who'd have to fix it.
Yeah.
No.
And, I think down the road, we'll take a look at, and, we run an IT department with 2 people, and we maintain, Jim helping this, not only all the city computers, but police, or sheriff, jail, and Grandview?
And the emergency management office.
Yes. Okay. So it's a daunting task, and a year and a half ago, we had this discussion of adding a third person and just, doing it in the budget-wise, but this actually gets us, because this would pay asset forfeiture.
We pay through asset forfeiture
And then take a look
for 12
as we
months.
budget down the road adding the position. The problem is that, and Jim can explain better than I can, our sheriff and police are technology hogs, because all the things they do now, and that's a positive thing for the community, with all the material they have from cameras and tapes and everything else. I mean, we're very, and it's good that we are that sophisticated and that good for our public, but it comes with a cost, and having the availability to have somebody in those systems working all the time is not only important to the officers, it's important to us citizens as well.
Move to approve the info technology agreement with Gary County.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
So this is paid for by asset forfeiture from here on out, or just this year?
1 year.
1 year,
To
12
establish
months,
the
sir.
position,
Right.
and then it
Then we'll
becomes
take a look at
regular
budget-wise,
schedule.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is going to be the consideration to purchase a 2010 Chevy Silverado from federal surplus in the amount of $21,500. Chief Johnson.
Good evening. The Junction City Fire Department is in need of replacing a 2004 Chevy Impala sedan. It's a sedan that we use for transporting personnel to and from training at seminars. The vehicle is starting to have maintenance issues. One of the ones that come to a point is there's starting to be a vibration in the steering column. So we're looking at replacing this vehicle, and what we have available to us is a 2010 Silverado 4x4 from the U.S. Government Services Administration through the state surplus. This vehicle can be purchased for $21,500. It has 38,000 miles on it. This vehicle will be moved into a utility support position to haul supplies back and forth between stations, fire hose, pull trailers, those type of things that we do on a regular basis. And what will happen is the Durango that we have will be moved to allow the individuals to go back and forth to school in a safer vehicle. When we go to school to Topeka, Wichita, and places like that, pushing the 2004, I think, having it break down or something on the way would just cause more expenses that we really don't want to go into. The standard purchasing of a new Chevy Silverado, going out on bid or doing that process, they're coming in. The question when we sent it out was about $35,000 to $40,000 for a 2017, or actually now it's 2018. So we're looking at using the fire reserve funds. We have a cash on hand of $200,000, but in our 2017 budget, we have approximately $33,000 left in that 2017 budget.
So right now, you spoke about taking that truck to haul the hoses and things like that around. How are you guys doing it right now?
Right now, we have to go to Station 2, pick up a trailer, come back to Station 1, pick up what we need, take it back out or take it where it needs to go to. What happened is the 1988 Ford truck that we had, that was our brush truck. It had mechanical issues that just weren't going to get fixed. The shop is trying to fix them so that they can use it for a city truck. But for an emergency vehicle, we just didn't want to risk it. So we mounted the skid unit onto the 2004 Chevrolet 3500 Chevrolet that we have. So now we're looking at replacing the Impala and moving some vehicles around that we have in our fleet to meet the needs of the department.
How many miles are on the Impala?
I think it's up to about 80,000. It was purchased used from I think it was actual state surplus for about $8,000. You can go up there to Stapler. They have a whole lot of cars, and you can just buy one. And I think that's where that one came from.
So the Durango, is that the chief's?
Right now, it's the chief's vehicle, sir.
So what will the chief do if the Durango's gone?
Public Works has been kind enough to transfer over to us a 2009 Tahoe. And we're doing a little bit of maintenance on it, and I'll drive that.
I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here, which would be unusual for me, but I see a lot of advertisements about trucks being $15,000 off of lists and stuff like that right now. Have we looked at that? I know you quoted that said that it's this price here, but it's the year end and.
Yeah, we've reached out, and that's what we got.
Okay, just asking.
So, they're going with the 2018 models. We asked for 2017s. There's not a lot of them on the lots. Even we went Ford, Dodge, GMC, Chevrolet, and they were coming back with $30,000, $35,000, $40,000
in that
Okay.
range.
All right, thank you, I was just asking.
And the Chevy Impala, I guess at some point will be sold for something.
Well, Purple Wave or Gov Deals or something like that. It's,
Not worth much.
no, it's not worth much there.
Chief, I don't want to rain on your parade. I drive vehicles for 10 years, and then at the end of 10 years, if they're not worth much, they're not worth anything, but to me. This vehicle here is a 2010, and you almost figure 2009 it was probably produced, so it's right now it's at 8 years. It's been driven about 5,000 miles a year, which sounds really good, but it's also in a salt area. It's not like a southern vehicle where they don't use salt. They use salt in this area here. Sometimes when we buy something, as soon as we buy it, there's something a little bit better that comes along. I'm not good with spending this much money on a 8-year-old truck for it next year to actually probably be 9-year-old.
Trucks retain their value a lot longer than cars do.
And also with this vehicle, sir, we've gone up and looked at it, and it's been a supervisor's vehicle, so the underside of it looks new. I don't know where they used it, or what installation it came from or where it came from, but it's very clean, very new.
Do you know if they kept it inside?
I would imagine so in the condition that it's in, sir.
Okay. I don't know. Our police vehicles, they're trucks, basically, the SUVs. Those suckers wear out just like cars. I mean, none of them have lasted 10 years, I don't believe.
Well, police vehicles are on the road 24/7, so that's different.
There's an old saying on police cars that a mile they put in a police car is equal to 3 you put on yours. So when you see a police car get to 100, that'd be like putting 3 to 350 on your car. Just,
Exactly.
they turn all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, you know.
Start and stop.
Yeah.
They're constantly on the move to where our truck is used for specific purposes.
Periodically.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I'd move to approve the purchase of the 2010 Chevy Silverado 1500 for no more than $21,500.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, next item this evening is going to be the consideration of the memorandum of understanding with Gary Community Hospital for pharmaceutical and medical supplies. Chief Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Before you is the memorandum of understanding with Gary Community Hospital. As you know, we have, through the graciousness of the foundation, provided us with what's called a UCAPIT machine. This machine controls the access to the pharmaceuticals that we use on emergency calls. In order to use the pharmacy as our dispensing agent, in other words, the people who will manage those pharmaceuticals, we need an MOU, being that they're an external agency, so that we can use them and purchase those pharmaceuticals from them. We just need an agreement for the hospital and us to understand how we're going to do this, where we're going to do this, and maintain the control. And this is also required as part of our pharmacy board licensing and DEA licensing, that we have these agreements in place when we go off facility for these type of things.
Chief, can you explain, as we did at lunch today with your spoon, to Mr. German and I about how this whole thing works? And I mean, I thought it was a great explanation, and the control we have that we don't have now.
Each individual has specific access number. When they put that access number in, they also have to put in a PIN number, the personal PIN number they select. Then they have to put in what unit they're in and other information. But what it does, it tells us, it tracks that medication from the time it comes in the pharmacy, because the pharmacy tracks it when they put it in the machine. So if I wanted to get this item out of the machine, I would have to put my number in, put my PIN in, and if it's a scheduled narcotic, it has to be done by 2 people. So we increase our ability to securely manage the pharmaceuticals that we have. Also, we don't have to go out, I get 1 item. I don't have to go run down to the pharmacies and buy 25 of them. So we use them 1 at a time, so we're billed 1 at a time. Also, when the medication, when it becomes expired, we have to dispose of it. For us to go to a third party that would buy these medications and ship them whatever they do with them, it's not feasible. It would cost us money to ship it instead of us earning money on it. To where the hospital is in a larger system, and the hospital has an agency that does that. So they would manage that. So the savings comes back. So if we don't use it, we're not charged for it. We're only charged for what we use. So if we're using one item every 3 months, we're only going to get charged at one item instead of have to buy 25 items. When they expire, destroy those 25 items and buy 25 more, because they come in packs of 25. If you try to buy them individually, naturally the pharmacist is going to charge you more. So with the hospital managing that program for us, we hopefully can start reducing costs in what we're spending on our pharmaceuticals, but also have the secure management of it that's required under the new DEA and pharmaceutical laws that are out there. One of the fun things about dealing with EMS. You'll learn that real quick.
So inventory management is solely the responsibility of the pharmacy?
It's actually a team between myself and the pharmacy, because I will get notification anytime something comes out of the machine, they'll get notification. So if it becomes low and the pharmacy hasn't replaced it, can be an interaction there to resolve that quicker. But we know exactly who took it out, when they took it out, and the hospital's even been gracious enough to put in a camera. So now we see it when they did it, so everything's time-stamped. So they've really joined us in this as a partner and accepted this.
Well, you also get the benefit of the hospital's buying group, because they can get pharmaceuticals at a much better rate than you, because they go through many more, so they get a better purchase rate.
Yeah, we're estimating the average cost to be between $25 and $30 for the major narcotics that we carry, which is really low compared to buying 25 of them for about $300.
Yep. Shows significant savings.
So do you have I'm not sure of your budget for the medications, but what kind of budget do you have right now versus, and when you go to this?
It should save us money. It should save us a considerable amount of money. When we go and buy, we have to buy them in packages.
Bulk.
Where the hospital can buy them in bulk, because everybody in the hospital is going to use succinylcholine. Everybody's going to use it in different places in the hospital. So what they will do is they would put that one in the machine. We would get that one and get charged for it. So it reduces us spending $300, $500, $600 for these medications down to the individual, which is $25, $30. So if we only use one that month, it's only $30 versus buying 25.
Yeah, huge savings.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is just the MOU.
Right.
And again,
we're not buying anything.
We're not buying anything. That was all approved last year when they did the fundraiser. And
It's similar to a sole purchase agreement that we're going to use the pharmacy at the hospital.
but it's also a good thing to understand what's happening, I think, for everybody too as well, and the public.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding with Geary Community Hospital and the Junction City Fire Department, EMS.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is going to be the consideration to award the crack sealing material bid to Pave and Maintenance Supply, a division of Craftco Incorporated, in the amount of $20,700.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, consideration and award of the bid for the crack sealing material. We went out for bid, and we had a formal bid opening on December 14th, 2017. We had 3 bidders for the crack sealing material, which would be 50,000 pounds of it. We had Paving Maintenance Supply had a bid of $20,700. McConnell and Associates had a bid of $20,850, and Sealmaster had a bid of $27,500. All 3 bidders met city specifications, and we have the funds available in the street budget, and so we would like the approval to purchase the 50,000 pounds of crack sealing material for $20,700 from Paving Maintenance Supply out of Wichita, Kansas.
Is that about what we paid in the past?
It's a little bit higher. I think price oil went up. Last year we paid 36 cents a pound. This year it's at 41 cents a pound.
Is this an annual?
Yes.
Move to approve the award of crack sealing material bid to Paving Maintenance Supply, a division of Craftco, in the amount of $20,700.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is going to be the consideration to award the Helen Park Waterline Improvements bid to Buyer Construction Company in the amount of $318,208.85, and West Star in the amount of $11,899.27.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, as you know, we've had issues with the 12-inch water main that goes through Helen Park. It's broken several times, at least four times that I know of, and when that break occurs, it drains the water towers, and within 30 minutes, you basically have no water in the towers. As you also know, that we are constructing a pedestrian bike path. KDOT's doing that on West 8th Street, and we have to supply power to the lights. This gives us the opportunity to replace that water line and also do the lighting for the power, put all the conduit in for the lighting for the trail project. Calvelli Engineering developed the preliminary plans, construction estimates, and materials quantity, and they advertised with a formal bid opening on December 7th, 2017. We had 4 qualified bidders, those being Bauer Construction Company, J&K Construction, Millwalk, and Smoky Hill. The original estimate from Call Valley was $363,220, and the low bid was from Bauer Construction for $351,406.85, and that was, the low bidder was $11,813.15 below engineer's estimate. Call Valley also included an alternate bid. The original bid had us to bore underneath 8th Street. The alternate bid has the allows the contractor to open cut West 8th Street, and by doing that, it would do additional savings cost of $23,198. So that the alternate bid, low bid, would be $318,208.85. We believe that allowing the open cut, saving the city some money, and doing that, it would work well right now because 8th Street is closed currently. And in the spring, we do have 8th Street set up for the street maintenance to mill and overlay. So this would be an opportune time to do that. In addition, West Star is requesting $11,899.27 prior to ordering the materials, which would be the underground primary, the junction boxes, and the transformers for the street lighting project for that pathway. So funding could be available as far as the water replacement through the water fund, and the West Star monies could be from the Federal Exchange Fund, since that's part of their transportation. So we're recommending that we accept the low bid from Buyer Construction for $318,208.85 for the 16-inch water line, and payment to West Star in the amount of $11,899.27 for the materials for the trail project. And with that, we're entertaining questions. I have Mr. Osborne from Call Valley, and I can answer any questions you may entertain here.
Do you mind, I think I understand what open cut is versus boring. Is open cut just cutting across the road and...
Opening, making a cut across the road and digging that up and then laying the piping and everything in there, versus boring, where you'd have to bore into the road, put a casing underneath that roadway, and then put the pipe and electric conduit through it.
Pipe going to be cased underneath the road?
If it's open cut,
Right.
doesn't need to be.
And you're okay for down the road and everything else?
Put the
Okay.
global fill in.
Okay, okay. Stupid question, I just thought of it right now. You're gonna cut the road. What do you gotta do with that new concrete on the north side?
In their bid, they're to cut what concrete they need to
Okay.
take up back in. Their bid
No problem.
wording was as required to put the pipe in.
Okay.
Mr. Osborne has guaranteed that we won't have any more major water breaks on that line. I believe that's what I understood.
That's why they put that extra 85 cents in there.
So and if I'm not mistaken, too, that area, because in talking with the city manager about it as well, when the line breaks near, we don't always know it right away either, do we?
No, that's something we have to search since it's down in the woods and then down in that ravine area. The only way we can do that is listen and track it by foot and figure out where it's coming from.
We're losing $30,000 to $40,000 every time that
Yeah,
happens.
that's,
Because
Yep.
that's finished water that
Right.
carries
It's
treated.
already
right?
been treated and done. So we're losing tons of money, tons of revenue.
absolutely.
Plus, not if Chief Johnson has to fight a fire.
This has to
We've
be
been at
done.
risk too many times because of that water line.
Yep.
Yes.
And Mr. Osborne wanted me to inform you also that this will be ductile iron pipe instead of the C900, because that, right now, currently is a C900 pipe, and it's, like I say, it's broken many times, so.
Okay, good idea.
Okay, thank you. Further? Entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve the award of Helen Park water line improvements
Second.
as described.
Okay, now I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I think you need to amend that to say, to use the open cut
Oh.
for $318,208.85, just to make sure we're
Yep.
on the same page.
To include the open cut as amended.
Okay, I have a motion on that and
Second.
a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need a separate one for the West Star? Do you need a separate motion for the West Star?
Yeah, the 318 is just
Yeah.
for buyer only.
Buyer.
West Star is another
11,000.
$11,099.
Yeah, you would.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
And Westar's no cheaper if it's open cut, right?
No. That's what they wanted for their
Right.
materials.
Next item this evening is going to be the consideration to award the sewer camera bid to Elliott Equipment Company in the amount of $82,075. Mr. Ibera.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, we're looking to approve the award of bid for a new sewer camera. We have it budgeted in the 2017 budget. Public Works currently has an older camera, which is probably about 7 years old. In the last 3 years, we spent over $4,000 each time for repairs on this camera. Besides the cost of the camera, it's waiting to get the camera back from the vendor, which sometimes has taken 3 to 4 weeks, and that doesn't allow us to take a picture of what's going on with the sewer line. And in addition to that, the software doesn't work on this camera. It doesn't have the video capability or the picture-taking capability, so what we have to do is on the monitor screen, we have to take a picture of that picture to be able to see what's going on. So what we did, we went out and advertised for bids. We had a formal bid opening on December 14th, and then we had 2 bidders, Elliott Equipment Company, which had a bid of $82,075, and RS Technical Services, which was $91,475. We recommend that we approve the low bid with the Elliott Equipment Company for $82,075. We have $75,000 of that money already in the equipment escrow fund, and then the rest would come out of the 2017 wastewater budget. And I'm willing to entertain any questions you may have.
And Mr. Ibera, both of these cameras are the same type camera?
Correct.
Okay. You made a good...
Are there multiple vendors that do in this line of work, or?
Yes, there's several. I don't know what, might have been because of our stipulation. One of the things is the pigtail that ties the camera together. The current one that we have, it's got like 3 or 4 wires. We can't repair it in the field. The one we requested, we saw, is a single line, and if something should break on that camera at the pigtail, we can repair that in 30 minutes and put it back in operation again. And that might be why they didn't want to bid on it.
Good.
Ray, when I was looking through this, I didn't see the description of the capability to take still photographs. That is part of the specification, correct?
Correct. The camera that we're looking for, and it was in our specs, you can take a still picture or you can take the video.
And when I was looking through their cut sheets. I didn't see I just may have missed it, but this camera will take still pictures, because I didn't see it in the cut
Yes,
sheet.
it's got the ability to take still pictures.
Good.
I'd move to approve the award the sewer camera bid to Elliott Equipment Company in the amount of $82,075 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners.
Next item this evening is going to be executive session for non-elected personnel.
To include
City manager and the attorney.
For no more than 30 minutes.
Well, you need to designate
specific
a
time.
specific time,
8:45?
because you can always reconvene if it...
Yeah.
At 8:45.
So moved.
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We'll be back.
Jim, stay away from my pretzel.
From the executive session where no
Decisions were made
decisions were made
and
No actions were taken.
and no actions were taken. So the next item this evening is going to be our commissioner comments and committee reports. And this evening, we'll start with Commissioner Ryan.
Well, Madam Mayor, I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Enjoy the holidays. And that's really all I have tonight.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you too, Mike. Commissioner Sands, since you just told me that you were ready to
I
go.
was ready, yes. This is like closing out 2017. And closing out 2017, I look around a lot of stuff that's happened in the city. We've had Sundown Salute, we've had Jammin' and JC, Juneteenth, numerous other events, but that comes from people volunteering. And volunteering in this community is extremely large. It's just opening up your heart and saying yes. When somebody asks you to do something, could you help? That's just simply opening up your heart and saying yes. These events start usually about a year before they actually even happen. So Sundown Salute, people talk about that at the last minute and say, why don't you have this and why don't you have that? Because we started planning for it about 3 months ago. And folks that are interested, find out how to volunteer, how to become a part of it. And it's pretty easy. You can go to Sundown Salute on Facebook. Any of these things that you're interested in, they're usually on Facebook. Or contact the city, and the city can direct you in that particular direction. But it takes away from your personal time. It takes away from family time. It takes away from friends, relaxation, and all that other great stuff. But you develop and you commit to the community being a better community because you volunteer. I want to pass on a season's greetings to everyone. As I drive around town, and particularly during Christmas, because I do love Christmas lights, and I do a DIY light show, I really like seeing the spirit that comes out, because it's the spirit of Christmas. And coming here tonight, you know, it may just be one of those little lights on your house, but it shows that our community has spirit. And there's a little community out west called Waikini, and nobody knows about Waikini, but Waikini, for people who are away from here, knows that that's a spirited city, because almost the entire town decorates or sets up for Christmas. And that town is known pretty much everywhere for Christmas. And that's what we could do, but it's bigger when you got a larger community. Again, I want to say Merry Christmas to everyone, season greeting, and Happy New Year. And I'll see you all next year for one meeting.
Thank you, Jim, and Merry Christmas to you. Commissioner McAllister?
No update from the chamber. We won't have a meeting until tomorrow. So maybe the next meeting I can give an update where we are. I am glad that we moved forward on the master agreement. That's very important. It's not necessarily the outcome that I was hoping to see, but we are going to move together as a team to get that working. I do want to say that I appreciate this team very much. I have for 4 years and 9 months. I appreciate the folks up here, what they do every day and what they do for the community. And I would like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Landis.
I went to the EDC meeting last week. There are several firms interested in the grocery supply building. I think 6 total, according to what Mickey says. So hopefully there should be some activity on that this coming year. Her explanation regarding how the chamber's going to run and the EDC and all that, it's going to be more of an ED-driven group, and the chamber's going to be kind of a side note with that. So functions that the EDC do will rule everything, which I think is good. So I'm not pleased that part of her time will be taken up with that, but she's going to have other people that take care of those chamber activities beneath her. So I think that I'm open to listening and see how things go. So that's good. Very proud of the young men from Troop 41 that are here tonight. I think that was really great. The kids just out there goofing around, and they came upon something and contacted authorities instead of just messing around with stuff. And it's good to see my old troop doing some good things. So good for them. I've talked to Mr. Lazier about maybe this next year in the parks budget, how we normally get stuff for Heritage Park, and maybe we can get some things for the East Chestnut Roundabout. To bring a little more Christmas to that end of town a little bit when people drive in and see something there. It just kind of welcomes them into Junction City, Christmas, that kind of thing. So hopefully we can find some things for that for this next year. And I think that's really all I have. Thank you, everyone, and have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Pat, and Merry Christmas to you, too. So I'll be short. Well, not really, but...
You said it. You said it.
Anyway, so since our last meeting, there's been a lot of great things that's gone on in our community. So hopefully you got out to enjoy a lot of them, and I'll just share a few of them. The 1st Infantry Division Band this last Friday and Saturday night put on a fantastic performance at our Opera House. The week before, we did our first Junction City Hometown Christmas, which turned out to be a really fantastic event as well that encompassed the J.C. Arts Council Winter Art Walk and caroling and all kinds of things, carriage rides, so that turned out to be a really great thing. McDonald's had their ribbon cutting ceremony last week as well. Our police did their great, fantastic Shop at the Cop this year, and some of us had the opportunity to participate again and do some rapping and other things and just really enjoy that time with those kids and the law enforcement as they're helping to make children happy in our communities. That same day had wreaths across America, and I know at our Heritage Park, wreaths were placed on the military monuments there as well as our law enforcement monument memorial that day as well. The Nutcracker was at our Opera House recently. Tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, Jingo Mingo is at the Chamber, 2 to 4, and or is it 2 to 4?
3 to 5.
3 to 5, I'm sorry, and at 4 o'clock is when we'll be bidding John Seitz, the director of the MAC, farewell for his time of being the MAC director. So there'll be a little special event, so if you want to come, and that'd be a good time to show up to show support for his efforts over the last number of years that he's been doing that position. I did attend the MAC meeting this week, the Military Affairs Council, and one of the things that we're working on right now is the schedule for the MAC breakfasts in 2018. So we're in the process of getting that together right now, the speakers and different organizations that we want to have at the MAC breakfasts. So we're in the process of doing that. I'd like to also say that I really appreciate the efforts of the land bank, the folks that did a lot of the research and the efforts that went into that to come tonight to the commission to share with us ideas that we were able to vote on and push that forward, because that's really going to be, it's a great effort and is going to work. So, but thank you all so much for that. And the last thing I would just like to say, well, one, this is our commission's last meeting for 2017 together. the first meeting in January will be our first and last meeting together in 2018 with this commission here. So just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2018. And with that, Mr. Dinkle, your turn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Getting some calls, and we've had about 3 people that contacted me with property tax statements coming out. People that bought property basically at tax sales, or they bought it through foreclosure issues, then get a blight. That was what happened. A lot of times what happens is the blight, let's say, happens on March 25th. Let's pick a date here. And we've just built it out, or even haven't built it out yet, or just have built it out, and then the property sells April 15th. Again, I'm just making up dates here. And the bill is sent to the people. They don't pay it, of course, and then we assess it to the taxes. So now the person that bought it, and you've been through this before, the person that bought it is stuck with the bill on there, and you know, we've worked. I mean, Cheryl's explained in the past, and I ran this bill by Katie this afternoon as well, and that's the way the law is written. It's unfortunate so that you know, I think the key issue there is when you're buying property. This is basically what I call distressed properties. That are usually where it happens. People are just buying another house. You don't have that because it's gone through the process, but it's usually on the distressed properties, tax liens or tax sales or foreclosures, where we're getting these to happen, that people weren't taking care of the property. And we just advise every person that's a potential buyer is to just call down to the codes department and say, is there any activity at, 115 North Spring Valley Road? I know that one's clean. So it's near my place. I know that one. But I should have said 211 Spring Valley Road. But the point is that we get those complaints, and you're going to have a few of those, and you'll hear about one, tell you about those. We've been out of the voicemail business for about a week now. Jim got it up and going today. Had to buy some new equipment. 10-year-old equipment, I think you told me.
About 12. It had Windows 2000 on it.
Okay.
If that's any indication of how old.
Okay.
Vintage.
And so we're back up in the voicemail business now. Office will be closed December 25th, of course, for Christmas. It's closed on January 1st. We'll have a commission meeting on the 2nd. And we're going to have a little reception. We don't know timing yet for the 3 outgoings, and we'll let the public know, so you can come and thank the 3 commissioners that are leaving. All 3 of these, of course, these 2 here, but all got a 9-month extension to their terms, so more than you bargained for, but great work with y'all.
Since was extended.
Oh, no.
For good behavior.
For good behavior. On January the 8th, we will have the new people will be here. I saw 3 up here tonight, and they'll be sworn in the office at 5:30 that night, and we'll have a very short meeting that night, and then full things in swing on January the 16th. Merry Christmas to everyone. I agree with Commissioner Sands. It's Waukene, the Christmas city of the High Plains, and for mixed benefit, I've been there more than once. So.
And you're related to almost everybody there.
Yeah,
in that town, you're probably right.
Probably knows everybody.
That's close to home. Thank you.
Ms. Logan?
I don't have anything other than Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Ma'am, thank you. Ms. Beatty?
Nothing tonight.
Ms. Settles?
Nothing.
Captain Fitzgerald? It's your chance to say something.
And you can say
You don't get that at
anything
home.
you want. You might want to take this chance.
Chief Johnson?
I do have one thing, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I want to introduce to you Engineer Sutton from our fire department. He has just recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in fire science.
Cool.
Yeah. Good deal.
So he has a bachelor's degree in fire administration and management. So our department is growing and getting better. Also, you step up here. This is the new uniform.
Looks good.
Do they have shorts with this one, too?
It's optional.
Go like
Do the
this.
walk. Do the gangplank.
We're making some great strides.
Thank you.
But he has worked a lot hard. He got it through Columbia Southern, which is an online program, so while he's working, he's using that to study and grow through the fire service, so we're very proud of him.
Great.
Congratulations.
Well done. Great.
Thank you. Anything else, Chief?
That's it, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Mr. Ibear?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. Mr. Lazier? Oh, okay. Mr. Peterson?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Gurman?
Feliz Navidad, Madam Mayor.
Ditto. Sorry, Mary.
It's El Ditto.
Mr. Leon left. Okay, well, I think we've,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
have a motion
Aye.
second. Okay, all, okay, thank you.
You need us to
I saw an
sign?
opening. I